Did you know that in many countries, almost 40% of marriages end in divorce? That number used to feel far away, until it was my story too. My name is Emma. I'm 33 years old, and I live in a small town near Kingston, New York, a place known for its beautiful views of the Catskill Mountains and the historic Hudson River nearby. It's a quiet town with lots of art, nature, and history around every corner. For most of my life, I believed that love was enough, that if we loved each other, everything would work out. I was married to James. He's 15 years older than me. We have a son named Leo. He's 8 now, and he goes to the local primary school. Our house was small, but it felt like home. At least, that's what I thought. Today, I want to share my journey about heartbreak, healing, and starting over. But this isn't just my story. If you're learning English, this video can also help you improve your vocabulary and speaking skills. The language I use is simple, natural, and full of expressions you can use in real life. So listen carefully and stay with me until the end, because after the story, I'll give you a clear summary of useful words and phrases. And don't worry, there will also be a short shadowing practice so you can speak along with me and improve your pronunciation. James worked as a mechanic in the town. I used to work in a bookstore before Leo was born. After he was born, I decided to stay at home and take care of him. Lately, I did some small online work to help with the expenses, but James handled most of the bills. I cooked, cleaned, and helped Leo with his schoolwork. Our life was not perfect, but I believed we were okay. Over the last few months, things began to feel different. At first, it was small changes. James started coming home later than usual. He said work was stressful, so I told him to take care and not get too tired. I believed him. But then, I noticed James stopped smiling. He didn't talk much during dinner. He seemed tired in a way I didn't understand. He used his phone a lot and kept it close to him all the time. Before, he left it on the table. Now, he held it like a secret. Sometimes he laughed quietly while looking at his screen. When I asked, he said, "It's nothing." Sometimes, when I entered the room, he quickly turned the screen off. One evening, I asked him, "James, is everything okay? You seem different." He just said, "It's work. I have a lot on my mind," and didn't look at me. Then he left the room. Another night, he said he was going out to see a friend from work. I asked who it was, but he said, "Someone you don't know." He left around 7 p.m. and came back after midnight. When I asked where he was, he told me not to ask questions like that and went to bed. I felt alone and confused. The next day, while James was at work and Leo was at school, I opened his laptop. I didn't want to invade his privacy, but I needed to understand what was happening. My hands shook as I read his emails. One name appeared many times: Sophie. The messages between James and Sophie were clear. One email said, "You make me feel alive again." Another said, "I wish I could see you every day." My heart broke into pieces. I never imagined James could love someone else. That night, when James came home, I said, "I read your emails. I know about Sophie." He didn't say anything at first. Then he said, "You shouldn't have read them." I asked, Do you love her? He looked away and said, Yes. That one word hurt more than anything. I wanted to scream, but no sound came. He didn't explain or say sorry. He just sat on the sofa and looked at his phone. I went to the kitchen and cried quietly, afraid Leo would hear me. The next morning, James left early without saying a word. I made breakfast for Leo and got him ready for school. He looked at me and asked, Is Dad okay? I smiled weakly and said, Yes, love, he's okay. But I wasn't. After dropping Leo at school, I checked our bank account. There were many charges I didn't recognize. Expensive restaurants, gift shops, even a hotel. I knew these were for Sophie. James was spending our family money on her. That day, I called my best friend, Claire. I told her everything. She invited me to stay with her, but I said I couldn't leave yet. Leo's school is here, and I have no job. I don't know what to do. Claire said, You are stronger than you think. You will find a way. James started coming home later and later. He stopped having dinner with us. When I asked where he was, he said, I don't want to talk about it, and left the room. Leo noticed and asked, Why doesn't Dad eat with us anymore? I didn't know how to answer. One night, James came home angry. I asked, Where were you? He said, Stop asking questions. You cause problems. Then he went to bed. I sat on the stairs and cried. I felt invisible in my own home. The next day, I sat with Leo. I wanted to be honest but gentle. I said, Dad is going through something hard. He might be away more. Leo asked, Is it my fault? I hugged him and said, No, baby, it's not your fault. A week later, James said he wanted to move out. He said, I need time alone. I looked at him and said, You left us a long time ago. He packed his bag and left without saying goodbye to Leo. That night, Leo sat by the window and watched the dark street. He didn't cry. He just sat quietly. I sat beside him and said, We have each other, you and me. We will be okay. He leaned on me and closed his eyes. That moment, I knew something had to change. Before I tell you more, I want to ask, where do you live? Sometimes I wonder if anyone really understands how I feel. It helps to know I'm not alone. Please, write to me in the comments. I met James when I was 21. I worked at a small cafe in town. Life was simple. I lived with my parents and worked during the day. One rainy afternoon, James came to the cafe. He was polite, calm, and kind. He ordered a coffee and sat by the window for an hour, watching the rain. The next day, he came again. He smiled and said, Your coffee is the best in town. I laughed and said, Did you come back for the coffee? He said, No, for your smile. I blushed. He was charming but quiet. Soon he came often. Sometimes we talked briefly. One day he left a note. Would you like to have dinner with me? I was nervous, but said yes. He took me to a small Italian restaurant. He talked about his job and life honestly. I felt special. We met more often. He brought flowers and always paid. He said, I want to take care of you. I started to fall in love. He didn't say much, but he was always there. A few months later, he asked me to marry him. We were walking in a park. He said, I want to spend my life with you. Will you marry me? I was surprised, but said yes. I thought he was calm and kind, the right person for me. After the wedding, I moved into his house. I stopped working. He said, "You don't have to work if you don't want." I agreed. I cooked, cleaned, and cared for the home. At first, it felt perfect. But slowly, I felt lonely. James was quiet and distant. He didn't ask about my day or share his feelings. I told myself, maybe this is just how he is. I didn't know any better. 2 years later, I was pregnant with Leo. James smiled a little but didn't come to doctor visits. He said work was busy. I went alone. I wanted him to be more present. After Leo was born, I stayed at home full-time. James went to work every day. When he came home, he didn't help with the baby. If Leo cried at night, I woke up alone. I wanted James to be more involved, but he was distant. Sometimes I saw him texting late at night. When I asked, he said it was a work colleague. He changed his phone password. I felt strange but didn't argue. I was tired. I had to care for Leo and the house. Looking back, I see the distance started years ago. I didn't want to see it. I hoped things would get better. But sometimes people don't change. Sometimes they leave before they leave the house. After James left that day, the silence was unbearable. Leo waited by the window, hoping his father would come back. He didn't. There were no calls, no messages, no goodbye. I wanted to cry, but stayed strong. I knew this was different. James didn't just leave the house. He left our lives. The next morning, I made breakfast for Leo. He looked sad and didn't eat much. He asked, "Is Dad coming back?" I looked in his eyes and said, "I don't know, but I will always be here for you." After he left, I sat alone and looked at a family photo. We looked happy there, but photos don't show everything. I was tired of feeling like I wasn't enough, tired of holding everything alone. James called 3 days later. I didn't want to answer, but did. He asked about Leo. I said, "He's okay." Then he said, "I'll come by to get my things this weekend." That was all. No sorry, no questions about me. I decided then I would not wait for James anymore. I would not let him control my feelings. I needed to start over, for Leo and for me. The next weeks were hard. Leo cried sometimes and asked, "Did I do something wrong?" I held him and said, "No, never. This is not your fault." I looked for work every day. One day, a small bookshop called. They needed help part-time. The pay was small, but it was something. I took the job and started the next week. My mom helped by picking Leo up from school and staying with him until I got home. The first day at work, I was nervous. I hadn't worked outside in years, but helping the first customer made me smile. I felt useful again. Every day after work, I walked home. It gave me time to think. Sometimes I cried. Sometimes I just breathed. With each step, I felt stronger. James came one weekend to get his things. Leo stayed with my mom. I didn't want him to see James packing. James said, "I hope you'll be okay." I said, "I will." You don't need to worry about me anymore." He didn't reply and walked out. After he left, I felt a strange peace. The house felt lighter. No lies, no secrets. Just me, Leo, and the truth. With time, Leo smiled more. He made new friends. He liked reading books with me before bed. Sometimes he said, "Mom, you're strong." That made me smile. I tried my best every day. One evening, I sat on the porch with tea. The sky was orange and quiet. I thought about love, pain, betrayal, but I didn't feel sad. I felt proud. I faced something hard and didn't give up. I chose peace over pain. I chose myself. I don't know what James is doing now. Maybe he's still with Sophie. Maybe not. It doesn't matter. What matters is, I can live without someone who doesn't respect me. I can raise my son with love. I can rebuild my life step by step. Some days are still hard, but I've learned that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means growing through the pain. I can raise my son with love. I can rebuild my life step by step. And even on quiet days like this one, I feel stronger than I ever thought possible. Life is different now. Simple, honest, and peaceful. Most of all, it feels like mine again. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share. More emotional but hopeful stories are coming soon. Before we finish today, let's take a moment to look at some useful words and phrases from the story and practice them together. One word I used was healing. It means becoming emotionally healthy, again after something difficult. For example, healing takes time, but every day brings something new. Another word is rebuild, which means to start over after something has been broken or lost. Like when I said, she started to rebuild her life after moving to a new city, and peaceful. That's how I describe my mornings now. Peaceful means calm and quiet. You could say, I love how peaceful it is here in the morning. Let's try a short shadowing practice together. Just repeat after me, out loud if you can. Try to match my rhythm and pronunciation. We'll do each sentence twice, once slowly, then again at a natural speed. Healing takes time, but every day brings something new. One more time. Healing takes time, but every day brings something new. She started to rebuild her life after moving to a new city. One more time. She started to rebuild her life after moving to a new city. I love how peaceful it is here in the morning. One more time. I love how peaceful it is here in the morning. We don't just survive. We grow through everything. One more time. We don't just survive. We grow through everything. Step by step, I'm learning to live again. One more time. Step by step, I'm learning to live again. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it gave you not only some new English expressions, but also a little bit of hope. Remember, no matter where you are now, you can always take one step forward. Keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.